Hello, everyone, and welcome back to what? What is it, Lulu? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Canine Cannibalism. Today, we are going to be taking a look at The Killing Kind by Bryan Smith. This book, or this copy of the book, is 321 pages, broken up into 42 chapters, including not including an epilogue that is in the back of the book. There is also an author's note on the back page, as well as some assorted leisure book club shit throughout because it's a leisure book. Um, and yeah, that's the book for you. So in a quick blurb, the book follows a group of hedonistic college kids as they are stalked and hunted by a group of psychopathic, bloodthirsty killers. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the gist. Um, and yeah, this video is going to be pretty normal. We got our content sample, as I have started calling them as of last video. So that's going to give you all of the shit that either you want to watch out for because you would not have a fun time reading it, or you want to watch out for because you'd have a really fun time reading it, or you just like hearing me list off a bunch of gross shit that happens in books. Those are the three reasons I can think of for why somebody would want to watch that. I'm also going to be doing a general review of the book, which is as always, because that's the whole fucking reason I'm here, really, and a plot summary as well, and then I have some things to say after the plot summary that are spoiler heavy. So, let's jump into it, shall we? You got your content sample first up. If you were to pick up a copy of The Killing Kind by Bryan Smith, you would find gore, torture, mutilation, and death, including cannibalism in this book. You also have sexual abuse throughout the book, including sexual assault and necrophilic acts. There is also borderline rape in a few scenes. First off, rape is heavily discussed throughout most of the book. There's constant threats of rape, fear of rape, discussion of people being raped. And then our main character kind of consents, but he doesn't really have a choice. It's kind of like a power dynamic thing, you know. Um, and then there's also, we'll get into it. Then you also have child abuse. There is physical abuse. There is murder and death. And then there's kind of sexual abuse. I don't really know how to. There's a girl who is 16. She gets stripped. But then she also does have sex, but it is consensual, but is also with a person who is far older than her. You also have general filth in this book, including poor hygiene. Also, where I'm gonna be doing this thing now, you got your fetish spotlight. So if you are into hot female murderers dominating people, this is the book for you. And from what I've heard, a lot of Bryan Smith is probably for you. So putting that out there. Okay. Content sample, trigger warning, blah. It feels so weird to call it a content sample. It feels kind of preachy or pretentious, but that's what I'm going to call it because I don't know what the fuck else I would call it aside from that, because I don't really want to call it a trigger warning anymore, if I'm honest. All right, so general review. The writing is absolutely excellent, okay? I got attached to the characters. The emotions came across decently well in the writing. The in the beginning of the book, before we realize how fucked up all of the kids are, they all talk to each other like they're in a cheesy 80s 90s slasher flick, but it's endearing. It's not cringy. It's fun to read. And then they become evil, but that's just kind of how these things go. So in this book, again, I said the blurb was very, very, very gisty. It's very bare bones, but the book follows the two perspectives. It follows the perspective, actually, it originally follows three perspectives, but then becomes two. It follows the perspectives of the killers as they stalk these college kids. One of the people with the killers is not there by choice, at least originally. He's not there by choice. And then he starts to become there by choice, kind of. And then we also follow the kids who are being stalked. And I have never ever, not even in something like Exquisite Corpse, gone back and forth between wanting the killers to win and wanting them to die, and then back to wanting them to win, and back and forth and back and forth. Never done that before in a book. That kind of just goes to show you how well the characters are written in this book. They do feel very fleshed out as people. And that allowed me to get very attached to them, to see the world through their eyes, have their experiences, put myself in their shoes, that kind of thing. So the character development in this book is an absolute fucking win for the author, I will say that. And then also going from disliking a person so heavily and then at the end wanting them to win because it almost feels like they kind of deserve a win, and then getting that ripped away from you, but not fully. It's so good. The character development in this book is so fucking good. It is by far the best part of this book is the characters. Okay, the prose is great. The plot is fantabulous. I really did enjoy the plot. I liked how dark the world was, but by far the thing that carries it the most is the character development. It is absolutely immaculate. I can't even think of a complaint off the top of my head. I didn't write down any complaints about character development. It is just like a masterclass in writing good characters, writing real characters. God, I feel so preachy. But yeah, I mean, it's so good. I highly recommend this. I am excited to read The Killing Kind 2. I have it right next to me. I will be starting that tonight. Not so excited to read. Actually, I have mixed emotions about the third and fourth Killing Kind books because they go really fucking wild, and I think the second one also goes kind of balls to the wall. This is a very real book. Not so much. I mean, it could happen. Bar the possible supernatural shit, it could happen. It's very gritty. It's very dark. It's a crime drama thriller. It is extreme. It is very disturbing at points. It is very good. We're going to go through a plot summary now, and then I can talk about a few things a little more. And yeah, that's, or actually, no. We're going to do some excerpts and scenes real quick. So this is a light spoiler warning at this point if you don't want anything spoiled. And honestly, I would recommend you go read the book right now. This again is very light. You won't know what the fuck is happening if you haven't read the book. But I would highly recommend you go read the book. Go buy a copy of the book. It's so fucking good. It has quickly become one of my favorites. Never gonna read it again. Don't need that. It's depressing as fuck. It's disturbing. It's dark. But my God, is it incredible. So, excerpts and scenes. I've only got one here for you, but it made me laugh when I read it. The quote is as follows. He, a man, supposed the ragged neck stump would have robbed her of any eroticism for most people. But for him, it was just another means of ingress. In other words, he'd fucked it. This was not normal, of course. It was the kind of thing crazy people did. He was crazy. Hence, stump fucking. That last bit did make me laugh. And it's always good when you're reading something that's just horrifically disturbing and then makes you laugh and then goes back to being even more horrifically disturbing. So, we're going to jump into a plot summary now. Now, the book is told in an order that is far from chronological. I am going to tell it to you in chronological order. If you read it the way that it is written in the book, you will have a very different experience than what I'm about to tell you, but I'm going to tell you the events as they happen in chronological order so that I do not get lost in my own sauce. And with that said, we're going to begin in September of the year previous to the main events of the book. Some of the book is formatted in the form of blog posts. I know the second book has this as well. We're jumping into very heavy spoilers now, and I'm just going to warn you before I get into it. Should have done that about 5 minutes ago. I'm a little tired right now, so my apologies. But yeah, major spoiler warning. Plot summary inbound. Blog entries. So it's a twist in the book because you think you're kind of made to think that the blog summaries are written by the main female killer whose name is Roxy because she's the type. But then when you find out that it's actually written by a secondary antagonist or protagonist named Julie, and she's kind of a girly girl, and then she snaps. But you wouldn't think from how that happens that the really fucked up blog entries are written by her. They are written by her, but I'm just telling you this now because, again, I'm telling you this in chronological order. You don't get that revealed until much later in the book, and then you're like, oh fuck, she is really screwed up in the head. So of September of the previous year, Julie posts a blog entry talking about how fucked up the world is. Okay, and Julie is one of our protagonists. She's a villain, but she is one of our protagonists. On October 31st of the previous year, Julie makes a blog post talking about how her parents found out about a video of something to do with a rabbit. I would assume it is animal abuse based on what she talks about later. I just realized that I did forget to put animal abuse in the content sample. So here's that, I guess. It was such a short scene where she's describing killing an animal that I didn't really think about it. And then there is another mention of like skinning a neighborhood cat or something, like a serial killer doing that. So yeah, when Julie does it, it's more of a thing of almost mercy, but in a way that is very sadistic. Whatever. So there's that as well. So she gets in trouble with her parents. She's very mad about it. It's her favorite day of the year, being October 31st. On the 10th of March, we get so the next year, on the 10th of March, the blog writer Julie writes about having a murder fantasy. On the 14th of March, Julie writes about a murder-suicide fantasy. And then on the 15th of March, we meet Zeb and Clyde. Zebulon is a schizophrenic murderer and rapist, and he is killed. He's like Jason in a way. He's killed pretty much everyone he's ever met. And then Clyde is his best friend and co-conspirator, co-murderer. And they both go around the countryside homeless, murdering and raping. That's what they do. Zebulon was in a mental hospital for 15 years, and he killed everyone and broke out. On the 16th, we meet a family with John as the head, and John is considering killing his wife because he's having a midlife crisis and thinks everything will be better. As he is going to kill his wife and daughter, he gets stopped in the hallway by Zebulon, and Zebulon mutilates him. And then it is heavily implied that John lies dying in bed for hours while Zeb and Clyde murder and rape his daughter and wife until finally beheading him. On the 17th, Julie, the blog poster, goes over to John's house to collect babysitting money, but also to fuck him because she has some issues, if you couldn't tell already. And she manages to kill Clyde, and Zeb kidnaps her. Zeb hears a voice and later sees a woman named Lulu. And Lulu tells him what to do, who to kill, who not to kill, who he's allowed to rape, etc. And for most of the book, we are under the impression that it is just a schizophrenic hallucination, but you're no longer so sure by the end. Zebulon does not kill Julie. He pervs on her a little bit. He wants to murder her and do bad things to her, but Lulu will not let him. And Lulu tells Zeb that she is different. Julie is different. Julie is like him. Julie is a murderer. And at this point in the book, you don't know that she's the one writing the blog post, so you're kind of like, well, maybe. But Zeb kidnaps Julie and takes her away. And then on the 20th of March, she kills a man. Originally, she kills a man so that Zeb won't kill her, because essentially that's what it comes down to. It's you show me that you're like me, or I'll kill you. I don't care what Lulu tells me. And Julie kills a man. And then she kills another man. And then she kills again. And by the time we meet them and they meet with our main killers, she has killed many, many people. On the 22nd of March, we meet Roxy, our main character Rob, and the group of kids. The group of kids insult, or specifically one named Chuck, insults Roxy, who is in goth garb, in a mall. Makes her feel horrible about herself, reminds her of all of her past trauma with her father. And she is a lunatic murderer who has killed many, 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 many people. And she debates killing the group of kids. One of the number of the kids, this is also a plot twist that you don't find out until the end, but one of the kids comes up to her and says, hey, essentially, I know who you are. I'm a sociopath. I would like you to kill my friends, but leave me alive. And since they insulted you, I figured you'll want to do this. Here's the directions to where we're going. Here's the address. Here's the code to get in through the gate, into the gated community. please just leave me alive because I want to become famous after having all my friends killed. Yada, yada, yada. Okay? So Roxy leaves the mall that she is in, where she was insulted, and as across the street, she spots Rob. And she kidnaps Rob. And she makes Rob drive her around. They originally are following the group of kids, but then Roxy calms down some and decides that it's not a very good idea to kill them immediately and that she knows where they're going. She has all this information. She'll be fine. So she goes on a murdering spree. She kills a bunch of random people. Rob becomes very lustful over her. And that same night, while they're in a hotel room, after she has skinned the front desk worker's face off of his body and wrapped it around a Bible, Rob fucks her in her bloody clothes. So, kind of consensually. Roxy kind of forces it, but then Rob takes control. And after that, he's kind of in on everything. But before that, he's very much a victim. Also, that night, Chuck gets the shit beat out of him by a guy at a bar because he's angry. There's a whole thing going on with him and his girlfriend that I'm not going to explain. But he gets the absolute shit kicked out of him by a couple of drug dealers. On the 23rd of March, Roxy and Rob continue to grow closer, and the kids presumably arrive at where they're going, although we don't meet them this day. We don't have a part about them this day, I don't think. And they were going to a beach house, and so they arrive at the beach. On the 24th, they're definitively at the beach. They're partying, they're having fun. And then Julie and Zeb meet Roxy and Rob, and at their meeting, Roxy kills Zebulon. She shoots him multiple times. And as he lays there bleeding out, Lulu appears to him one final time. He dies, and then Lulu kisses him. So is she real? That's for you to decide. On the 25th of March, we get the blog, the reveal that the blog is written by Julie. I've told you that already, but that's when we get the reveal. And she essentially says that I'm okay, everything's fine. I hooked up with a guy and left town. And on the same day, Chuck, one of the kids, stands up to the girl who essentially made the deal with Roxy. And her name is Emily. She is a manipulator, and she's been fucking everyone in the group, essentially to get blackmail on them and to play twisted head games with them. And at this point, Chuck stands up to her. On the 26th of March, Rob becomes a person of interest in a murder that Roxy committed while they were on their spree on the first day. And the kids begin getting more antsy. They begin fighting with each other. Tensions rise. Emily gets angrier. On the 27th of March, the whole trio, so Julie, Roxy, and Rob, make national news for a murder that gets committed in a Walgreens, which Rob does actually assist in this time. It is also Julie's birthday, but she doesn't tell the group. She makes a blog post talking about how she's murdering an old man. The kids have a full falling out. Chuck gets into a fist fight with his best friend who is dating the Emily chick. And then the killers break into the house, or don't break in. Emily lets them in. The woman who made the deal with Roxy lets them in. And they kill all of the kids. Horrifically and brutally and violently, and they drown one of them, and they torture them, and Rob does not partake, but he does end up having to fight Chuck, who breaks free at one point, and he does stab him, but Chuck is the only one that survives. Everyone else dies. Roxy then shoots Julie, because Julie was fucking Rob, and Roxy was fine with it happening once, but then Julie got into her territory too much, and so she shoots Julie twice. And then, because Rob is unable to kill one of the people that she tries to have him kill, she knocks him out and leaves him. And they both get caught by the police, but Roxy escapes. On the 11th of July, we get a blog post from Julie revealing that she is alive, but she probably won't end up in jail because her father is a big shot CEO and she's a spoiled little princess, and he's hired the best lawyers for her to play a insanity plea, and I was forced to do it, whatever. We get a reveal that Emily is actually alive. She is the only other kid besides Chuck who managed to survive after being stabbed multiple times, even though, yeah, the proposition didn't go good for her, by the way. I mean, I think I kind of implied that by saying that all of the kids die except for Chuck, but yeah, she ended up getting stabbed almost immediately because she tried to boss Roxy around, and Roxy wasn't having it. But she lived. She played dead out with like 3 stab wounds and lived, same as Chuck. So, or Chuck didn't play dead. He was actually very close to dead. Whatever. Rob is in jail and expects that he will be doing 5 to 6 years out of a 10-year sentence, based on what his lawyers told him. He meets up with his roommate while still in jail, and he confesses his love to his roommate. There was like a whole kind of semi thing about that throughout the book, about Roxy saying, "Your roommate's with a girl, she definitely is into you." So Rob confesses that he loves her, and they love each other, essentially, is what happens. On the 7th of September, Chuck goes back to the bar where he got the shit kicked out of him in order to settle the score, because that's one of the things that's been eating him alive inside. Is these people making him feel weak. He's still kind of a dick and egotistical, but he can't, he finds out that Roxy has killed the guy who beat the shit out of him, one of the guys, and he figures that she did this because she knew that he would go back to this place in order to try to get even, and she's taken that away from him. And after he realizes this, he decides that it's time to let it go. He needs to let go of his grief. It's what his friends and his now dead girlfriend would have wanted. And it's the last thing that Roxy would expect. She would expect him to chase her, which is kind of what he implies he's going to do throughout this last chapter we're with him, up until the very end. So he lets it all go, and he drives off smiling. So it's fucked up. It's fucked up. It's disturbing. It's dark. It's depressing. This is a story where the good guys lose consistently and the bad guys win. And you could make the argument that the good guys win in the end, at least Chuck does, by letting everything go, by not giving into what Roxy would want, by not letting people like Emily win. But in reality, the 2 killers who did the worst, they get away with it. Aside from Zeb, he gets shot, but he's more of a minor character. But Julie and Roxy get away with it. Roxy, who is the worst of them all, scot-free. Julie does have to face some repercussions, but she does end up scot-free. Spoiler alert for the second book. She doesn't go to prison. Her lawyers are able to successfully argue her innocence. And then Rob, the one who, albeit is a coward, did help with the murder and torture of these people, did not actually kill anyone. He ends up in jail the longest. And Chuck and Emily are the only 2 people who survive. And you go from really liking Rob and wanting him to win to almost hoping that he starts being friends with Roxy so that we don't have to watch him get mutilated and tortured. And then you start hating the killers, as you especially in the scenes where they're hurting the students, the college kids. And you go at the start, can't talk. English is a difficult language apparently for me. You start off hating Chuck or really disliking him because he's a douchebag, because he insulted Roxy for no reason. And I mean, she's unhinged and a lunatic, but he's a dick. And then as you slowly start learning more about his problems, you start to understand a little more. And then at the end, you're rooting for him to win, because even if you don't like him personally, he's the only one that can that has the chance to save them. But then he can't. He's unable to. And you start off at the beginning liking Emily because she's telling Chuck off for insulting Roxy and being a dick. And then you slowly realize that she's a manipulative little bitch and is evil, is almost just as evil as Roxy is. And then she's one of the only people who survives. And I don't know if she faces repercussions. It's said that she's facing charges at the end of the book because Chuck is alive to tell the tale. But she does... I think I don't know if she faces repercussions for her actions, but she is facing charges at the end of this book. I do know that. So, I mean, and it's not like an extreme horror scenario where it's like the good guys have to lose just as like another shock factor. It's very much like that's the way it is with these kind of things. Good guys don't always win, and it's very, very sad and disturbing, but the good guys lost. And the bad guys win, and you start off rooting for the killers, and then quickly you are not rooting for the killers at all. And that's just how it is. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. As always, my opinions are my opinions, and my opinions alone. I would highly recommend that you read this book. This book is fucking great. I really like it. I will leave a link in the description to a copy. Probably not this one because this one is really old, but really old, like a little over a decade, but whatever. Uh, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Bye.